Coming up on today's show.
Sometimes we kind of forget that the main function of our trunk is not to store things.
Or you go to Costco and you come out with that big cart of stuff, and then all of a sudden you open up, oh no, the golf clubs, where are we going to put all this stuff?
But I would say the number one thing would be commit to every time. Now, there will be situations where you will be in a rush and this is not possible. But for the most part, you need to commit to taking the trash and the unneeded stuff out of your car on a daily basis.
Organizing your car, part 2, today on Keeping You Organized. Well, if you joined us last time on Keeping You Organized, you know that we were talking about getting our car organized and all the things that really take it to get it into great condition for not only just a road trip, but in general. We sometimes clutter our car up with all kinds of things that really shouldn't be in there. So we're going to bring on Angie Hike from ShipShape.Solutions. And Angie, welcome back to Keeping You Organized.
Thank you.
Now, last time we talked about the front of the car. We talked about the visor and the glove box and the front seat. And for those who didn't see or listen to that episode, make sure you go back and catch that. But now we're going to kind of move back in the car to the back seat, or unless there's anything else in between the front and back that we still haven't covered.
Well, one area that doesn't get used a lot is the backs of the front seats, and that is super handy. I'll tell you that the best thing that I've done as far as my car organizing is to buy a trash can that attaches to the back of the passenger side seat so that I can reach it if I need to throw something away, and the people in the back seat can also reach it, because trash is definitely the thing that clutters up our car the most. Yeah. So I like using that. You can also use the backs of those front seats for so many things, especially if you have children and they need toys or items for comfort or whatever. There's some great organizers that can attach to the back of those seats.
Yeah, that's good use of that space. You know, I always think about that's like the first place I go look for something that's missing, because that's another area that things kind of get kind of popped in and put in there. So all right, and you know, even as far as not even necessarily even having to buy a attached thing, we'll just take like old Target bags and stuff them in there, so we have some empty bags, so that way if we're eating in the car or whatever, we have a garbage bag ready to go. So
yeah, the thing that I like about it being attached is that it's not moving all over the car.
Absolutely.
And the fact that I know I can count on being able to reach it because it's right there, on the back of that passenger seat. But yeah, you can use anything. You don't have to buy anything special. You could strap one of those bags on there and it would work fine.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so what's next?
All right, so let's move to the trunk, or as the Brits like to call it, the boot.
The boot.
The boot. So sometimes we kind of forget that the main function of our trunk is not to store things. It's to mostly keep it empty so that we can transport things. Mm-hmm. So this is one of those where we tend to see our car as a mobile storage unit sometimes, which is not necessarily the best thing to do. So one example of that is that if we have something that we need to return to a store or to deliver to someone, we tend to pop it in the trunk. And while that's really handy, what I see is that people throw things in there, but then they don't figure out when in their schedule they're going to actually get it to that place. Mm-hmm. And so more and more stuff gets added and never delivered. So if you're going to put something that needs to be taken somewhere, figure out when in your day you're going to get it there, and don't just leave it for months and months.
Now it reminds me, when I used to play golf more, I still play golf, but not anywhere near as much as I should. But I remember it was kind of this ritual. May 1st, the golf clubs went into the trunk of the car, and October 1st or whenever it really was starting to get cold, they came out of the trunk and then they got stored. But I kept them in there all summer, because you never know when you might need to go play golf. But I don't do that anymore because I don't get out enough.
Yeah, and and that's good for being handy, but boy, that takes up a lot of space.
Oh, they take a lot of room up, yeah.
Yeah, and if you think back to when you were active in golf, how many times did you go golfing where it was an impromptu kind of thing, where, man, I'm glad I had those in the car, versus a planned thing so that you could just keep it in the garage and then just pop them in there and not take up that space all the time.
Or you go to Costco and you come out with that big cart of stuff, and then all of a sudden you open up, oh no, the golf clubs, where are we going to put all this stuff? So
yes,
it's crazy.
Once again, the main function of our trunk is to transport things, not to store.
Yeah. Well, what are some other items that we might want to keep in our trunk kind of long term?
All right, so I think some very good things to have in there: emergency kit for your car, like a flare and charger. What are those things called if your battery dies?
Oh yeah, like a battery charger. I mean, they're jumper cables.
Jumper cables, yes.
Okay.
Reusable shopping bags are great. Umbrella, snow scraper. I keep a light jacket in my car, which I actually need more in the summer when the restaurants are freezing cold. And a lot of this depends on your life stage. If you've got kids, then there's a whole lot more stuff you're going to need in there. You might need an umbrella stroller in there. Camp chairs and a blanket for picnics or tournaments, extra outfits, diapers, supplies. Again, only the things that you really, really impromptu need. But those are some of the things that are handy to have in the trunk.
Right. Okay, great. Well, we're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, I've got the big issue. The big thing we got to talk about is, okay, we'll have that motivation to get this car clean and organized, but how do we maintain it? So we'll do that when we come back with Angie from Ship Shape Solutions, and we'll be right back. We're back on Keeping You Organized, talking about organizing your car, and we have Angie Heich from ShipShape.Solutions. Angie, we kind of made it through the trunk. We've made it really from front to back in these last this episode and the episode before. But how about that big issue of maintaining that cleanliness or organizing? Because organizing isn't a one-time deal, right? It's we gotta keep up on this stuff. So do you have any tips for how people can keep their car organized?
Yes, I do. And maintenance is always the hardest part. But I would say the number one thing would be commit to every time. Now, there will be situations where you will be in a rush and this is not possible. But for the most part, you need to commit to taking the trash and the unneeded stuff out of your car on a daily basis. What has helped me more than anything is to put a trash can in the garage, just, not the big, huge one that gets rolled to the curb, but one that's as close to the door that I go into my house as possible, so I can just quickly take that in. I have been known to take in trash to restaurants or stores or whatever. If there's a trash can out on the curb, I'm going to see that and take it out. So it's a good practice to get into. And these kinds of things are things that you can teach your children to, as far as having good daily habits. Mm-hmm. Another thing is when you pull in, if it's not trash, things that you've purchased, things that you've borrowed or whatever, just get into the practice of when you pull in, before you walk in, you look around, pick up anything that needs to go into the house, any trash that needs to be thrown away. Again, it's a commitment. It's a life skill. Look around and see, is there something in there that you've had in there for 3 months that, those books that you keep meaning to take back to the library, or those plastic bags that you keep meaning to take to the grocery store to recycle or whatever. And on a regular basis of some sort, you need to kind of reassess, because despite your best efforts to make it a daily habit, things are going to creep in there. Mm-hmm. That's something you've put in there that you thought, boy, it'd be really handy to have this. But then, 6 months down the road, you say, I haven't used this one time and it's taken up a lot of space. So let me pull that out. It's just like with any area, your home, your business, whatever, your car is the same. It requires regular maintenance to keep it organized.
Right. Have you ever thought about taking and like maybe putting on your calendar like once a quarter a deep clean, or once a month, or that kind of thing? To kind of, because it does seem like it's real easy to just, well, I'll get that garbage next time, or oh, it's going to rain today, so I'm going to put it off for another day or two. You don't want to get my car washed or anything like that. Any kind of things like that you would recommend to people do?
Yes, I think scheduling it's a great idea for someone who, if you're like me, if it's not on my calendar, it's not going to happen.
Right.
So however regular basis you need to do that, that's great. Another thing is just to every once in a while just kind of sit in your car and just kind of think, okay, what's working, what's not working? What do we tend to have issues with? It seems like I'm always having to reach for this and it's never close enough. Or the kids are always having trouble getting this. Or think through those things. What do we need to add? What do we need to subtract? What do we need to change the positions of? What keeps sliding around? What do we need to attach? So just kind of think through your problems and make some adjustments to your system.
It reminds me, this weekend I was driving and I kept hearing this clanging noise in the back. And my daughter was in the back seat. I go, what in the world is this noise? It sounds like something's loose or something. And it was one of those metal drink things, but it had been left in there from a previous trip, and it was, every time you like just hit a bump or something, clang, 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 so trying to take that stuff and get that out of the car, and I think getting your kids to do this is even a bigger challenge, but if we can get them involved, because they're the ones that use the back seats,
Yeah, and you can make a game of it, make a contest of it, who can pick up the most trash or whatever. Have them get down in the floor. Sometimes there are things under seats that you don't see. And take it to a car wash every once in a while. They've got those strong vacuum units, and that's going to force you to kind of look down in there. Yeah, you never know. I was with a friend one time, was riding in her car, and it wasn't terrible, but it definitely wasn't in great shape. And she said, sorry about the smell. We cannot figure out what's going on. There's something in this car. I don't know. We have looked and looked. Well, I said, okay, well, so we had to put something in the trunk. And so she had a bunch of bags in there. And I said, now, have you checked all these bags? Oh, yeah, we've checked those. Yeah, we can't figure this out. And in 2 minutes, I looked in one bag, found some food that had been in there from, a restaurant takeaway. So,
oops.
Yeah. So that's why regular commitment to taking things out and decluttering is essential.
Great. Well, Angie, this has been great. These 2 episodes on organizing your car are going to be ones that I think people go back and watch or listen to over and over again. But before we go, can you tell us the kinds of services you offer and how people can get a hold of you?
Yes, so my name is Angie Heitch, and my business is ShipShape Solutions. I operate in East Tennessee, Kingsport, Johnson City, and Bristol, the Tri-Cities. I do mostly residential organizing, a lot of decluttering, and I love helping people come up with systems to make their lives more efficient and more pleasant. So my website's shipshape.solutions, and would love to help anyone that needs some organizing help.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. I'm sure we'll have you back again, Angie. And I'm feeling better already, and just want to go now and work on my car so I can get at least that layer of sand that's on all those mats out of there. And we'll start with that and then see where it takes us. So.
All right. Well, good luck with that.
All right. Oh, there you have it, folks. Now your car is organized. Now you can go out and enjoy it. Go on a trip or just drive around, and then make sure you come back next time for our next episode of Keeping You Organized.